Welcome to the Ramayan, stories of Dharm and devotion. I'm Sandeep, your storyteller, guiding you through the timeless epic of Valmiki's Ramayan. Rooted in ancient tradition and illuminated by countless retellings across India's sacred soil, this narration brings to life a tale where devotion meets destiny and courage is born from love. In our previous episode, Hanuman, the mighty son of Vayu, the vine god, unleashed a storm upon the golden citadel of Lanka. In search of Sita, he uprooted Ashok Vatika, struck down demon after demon, and faced the wrath of Ravana's finest warriors. He defeated the sons of the ministers, crushed the 5 great generals, and even slew Ravana's own son, Akshay Kumar, in midair combat. When Ravana sent his greatest weapon, Indrajit, Hanuman engaged him in a fierce duel that shook the skies. But this was not a battle of ego, it was strategy. Hanuman, out of reverence for Brahma's celestial missile and a desire to meet Ravana face to face, allowed himself to be bound. Indrajit, aware that Hanuman was only pretending to be captured, still brought him to the court, because the Vanar's strength had already become the stuff of legend. Now, as Hanuman stands before the 10-headed king, bound in ropes but unshaken in spirit, the next chapter of divine drama unfolds. The messenger of Ram will now deliver not just words, but a warning. In this episode, witness Hanuman's wrath blazes forth as he lights the city of Lanka in flames. It is not destruction for its own sake. It is a divine signal that the wheel of Dharm is turning and the downfall of adharm is nearby. Join me as we enter this fiery and unforgettable chapter where the humble Vanar becomes the firebrand of justice and the city of gold begins to tremble in the face of truth.
Hanuman stood still, ropes coiled around his limbs, his frame towering and unbowed, his sharp gaze scanning the grandeur of the court of Lanka. Before him, seated upon a high crystal throne studded with radiant gems and draped in silk, was Raavan, the king of Lanka. The throne shimmered like frozen lightning, its steps polished smooth by centuries of tribute and fear. And there sat Raavan, majestic in appearance, radiant like a mountain wreathed in clouds at sunrise. His 10 heads, each crowned and resplendent, bore expressions of confidence, cunning, and concealed wrath. His arms, 20 in number, were adorned with golden bangles and serpent-like armlets, each muscle bulging with might. A fine red sandal paste marked his vast chest, a garland of pearls nestled on his broad shoulders, gleaming like moonlight on deep water. Surrounding him were his most trusted counselors dressed in armor and wisdom, seated like the 4 oceans that ring the earth. And behind them, maidens with jeweled fans waved back the perfumed air, keeping the atmosphere of Raavan's court cool and composed. Hanuman, bruised but not broken, stared intently at the monarch. Despite the bindings, he was not humiliated. In fact, he was impressed. For a moment, he thought to himself, what strength, what stature, what beauty. If not for his adharm, Raavan might have ruled over even the heavens beside Indra himself. But alas, his ego, his deceit, and his cruel actions have stained all this grandeur. This is no ordinary king, Hanuman mused. He possesses every mark of greatness, save righteousness. His downfall will not be because of weakness, but because of the weight of his own misdeeds. Though the court roared with murmurs and accusations, Hanuman stood undisturbed. In his silence, there was fire. In his restraint, a storm. The stage was set. The king of Lanka and the messenger of Ram were about to speak face to face for the first time. As Raavan sat tall upon his jewel-studded throne, fury rising like smoke behind his crimson eyes, he turned to his chief minister and said in a voice edged with suspicion, Prahasta, question this monkey. Ask him from where he comes and why he dares to invade Lanka, why he ravaged our Ashok Vatika and slaughtered our warriors. Ask if he is Nandi reborn, sent by Mahadev, or some fierce spirit of vengeance in disguise. We must know who seeks to mock the throne of Raavan. Prahasta, rising with dutiful gravity, approached Hanuman and said in a voice both cautious and commanding, "O monkey of tremendous power, peace be upon you. Cast away your fear and speak the truth. Are you a spy of Indra? Or perhaps Kuber, Varuna, Yam, or even Vishnu has sent you as a messenger of war? Speak clearly, for your words now weigh your fate. Your form may be that of a Vanar, but your radiance, your strength, is not of ordinary beasts. Tell us, why have you dared to enter the invincible city of Lanka?" Hanuman raised his chin. Though bound in ropes, he stood straight like a pillar of fire. His voice thundered across the court, bold and unyielding. He said, "I am not the servant of Indra, nor do I carry the commands of Kuber, Yam, or Varuna. I have not been sent by Vishnu either in this form. I am Hanuman, son of Anjani, born of Vayu, the vine god, a Vanar by nature, servant of Ram, the prince of Ayodhya. I came on my own accord, not to spy, but to speak. Those who came at me with swords and maces, I destroyed them only in self-defense. I crushed your grove, O Raavan, not out of mischief, but so that I might be captured and dragged before you. I had a message to deliver, one that must be heard not by your servants, but by you yourself. I am here on behalf of Ram, Lord of Dharm, whose wife you have wrongfully imprisoned. You ask how I was caught if I am so mighty? Hear this, no weapon, no demon, no celestial power can bind me, for I too have received the boon of invincibility from Brahma. I allowed myself to be bound, not from weakness, but from will. I surrendered to the Brahmastra not out of helplessness, but to fulfill my mission, to meet you face to face. And now that I stand here, I will say what I came to say. You have committed adharm, Raavan. You have stolen Devi Sita. But the time of reckoning draws near. Ram will come. And when he does, no fortress, no weapon, no spell of yours will save you. The court fell into a stunned silence. Ministers glanced at each other. Demons fumed. But Hanuman stood unshaken, his chest rising like a lion's, his gaze meeting Raavan's without fear. The court shifted uncomfortably. Raavan's red-hot eyes narrowed. Standing tall amidst the court of Lanka, still bound in ropes, yet radiating the aura of an immortal flame, Hanuman, the son of Vayu, gazed steadily at Raavan and those gathered. His presence defied the restraints that held him, his voice steady like thunder before a storm. Hanuman began, his tone respectful but unwavering. "O Raavan, you sit here on your glittering throne, surrounded by ministers and warriors who bow at your feet. Your palace shines like the heavens, your arms carry the strength of 100 battles, and your name echoes across the 3 worlds. But let me tell you now, your glory stands on the edge of a blade." A hush fell over the court. Hanuman turned his gaze briefly to the ministers beside Raavan, and then to the rows of armed guards. Hanuman continued, fearlessly, "Ram, son of Dashrath, was destined to be the crown prince in Ayodhya. But bound by his father's word and the noble vows of truth, he renounced his kingdom and entered the forests of Dandaka, accompanied by his devoted wife Devi Sita and his loyal brother Lakshman. There, far from his throne, he lived the life of a hermit. And it was there that you, Raavan, stole what was not yours." A murmur rippled through the demon court. "Yes," Hanuman said, his gaze steady. "You swept down like a coward and bore Devi Sita away through the skies, past Rishamukha mountain. You imprisoned her in your palace, hoping to break her spirit with fear, but she remains unbroken." There was a glint of fire in Hanuman's eye now. And Ram? He is not still. In his quest to find Devi Sita, he made an alliance with Sugriv, king of the Vanars. Ram slew Bali, Sugriv's rival, with a single arrow, a warrior you knew well. In return, Sugriv swore his loyalty. And so, we, his Vanars, spread across the world to find your captive. I crossed the vast ocean alone, not with army, not with weapons, but with devotion and will. And I found Devi Sita in your Ashok Vatika, sorrowful yet radiant with faith in Ram. I destroyed your grove, not out of whim, but to meet you face to face. And I fought your warriors not for blood, but because they stood in the way of Dharm. You think you hold Devi Sita captive? No, Raavan. What you hold is the fire of your own destruction. There was silence now in the court, electric, heavy. Return her, Hanuman said, his voice quiet now, yet thunderous in meaning. Restore her to Ram, and you may yet preserve what little honor remains. But should you refuse, then prepare. For what I've done alone, crossing the ocean, burning your grove, slaying your finest warriors, is nothing compared to what Ram and Lakshman will do. You think you are safe from gods. But Ram is no ordinary man. When his wrath is awakened, not even Brahma, Rudra, or Indra could shield you. A pause, and then Hanuman leaned slightly forward, voice laced with gravity. This city will burn, Raavan. This empire built on adharm will crumble. Devi Sita is not a prize. She is fire wrapped in virtue. To cling to her is to clutch death itself. For a moment, all was still. Then Raavan rose from his throne in fury, eyes blazing like the sun's. Kill him, he roared. Roast this insolent monkey alive. Let all Lanka see what becomes of those who defy me. The court erupted into chaos. But Hanuman stood unshaken, his heart calm, his gaze fearless. As Hanuman's words fell like thunderbolts into the court of Lanka, a tremor seemed to pass through the gathering. Many ministers stared in disbelief. Some gritted their teeth, others lowered their eyes. But none dared speak, for all eyes were fixed on Raavan, the king of Lanka, who had conquered the heavens, who had made the sun itself seem dim by his brilliance, stood now, his golden frame trembling not with fear, but with rage. His 10 heads bore expressions of fury, disbelief, and insult. And from each mouth issued a single terrible command, kill him. A gasp rippled through the court. The air grew dense. The guards, hesitant but compelled by the command, moved a step forward. The courtiers looked from Raavan to Hanuman, as if unsure which face to trust, the defiant Vanar or the ragging monarch. But then, from amidst the ranks of seated ministers, a calm yet firm voice rose, Vibhishan. The youngest brother of Raavan stepped forward, palms respectfully folded, his tone deliberate and poised. O king of Lanka, he began, you are wise, powerful, and have conquered realms that even the gods tremble to challenge. But let not anger cloud your dharm. Raavan glared at him, but Vibhishan continued, unshaken. Slaying this Vanar may satisfy your wrath, but it will shatter your legacy. He is an envoy, O king, an emissary. Messengers, whether noble or wicked, are not to be killed. It is not just the law of men or monkeys. Even the gods follow this. Raavan's hand trembled on the hilt of his sword. But this monkey, he has insulted me in my court, slain my warriors, laid waste to my gardens. And now he dares to preach? Vibhishan bowed slightly and spoke softly, yet with force. Yes, he has done all that. But he came alone, O king, without an army. He came as a voice of warning, not as a wielder of war. Punish him as an envoy if you must, humiliate him, mark him, mock him, but do not kill him. The court was still. Hanuman, still bound but standing tall, cast a glance at Vibhishan, a flicker of respect passing between messengers on opposite sides of Dharm. Vibhishan's voice rang again, louder this time, addressing the court. Let every warrior here ask themselves, if we kill this one Vanar, what then? Shall we sleep peacefully while Ram, Lakshman, and the armies of Sugriv march with fire in their eyes and dharm in their hearts? Shall we not become the very embodiment of adharm and weakness for slaying a messenger, however insolent he may be? He then turned to Raavan directly, his voice now a whisper for the throne alone. And if we kill him, O brother, who will go back to Ram to tell him what awaits? Who will carry fear back into their hearts? Let this monkey live. Let him be mocked, burned, humiliated, but let him carry a message back. let Ram and Lakshman know that they now faced not only a demon king, but an empire. Raavan, breathing heavily, stepped back from the edge of fury. His fingers relaxed from the sword. The storm in his many eyes dimmed, but did not vanish. So be it, he growled. Let the Vanar live, but not unscarred. As Ravan's fury gave way to cold calculation, he turned to his ministers and issued a punishment meant to wound the spirit more than the body. Killing him may bring momentary satisfaction, but a deeper humiliation shall echo through the Vanars. Let his tail, the pride of his race, their banner of strength, be set ablaze. Parade this monkey through Lanka, bound and burning, a mockery for all to see. The court fell into a grim silence. The guards seized Hanuman once more, dragging him through the courtyard as they gathered old rags, soaked them in oil, and wrapped them tightly around his magnificent tail. Hanuman, towering and radiant even in captivity, allowed it all. Not out of helplessness, but to gather intelligence, to observe Lanka in daylight, and to fulfill Ram's mission to the last detail. As they tied him down again and lit the fire, Hanuman's tail burst into flames, yet he did not flinch. Instead, he raised his chin, a smile playing at the corners of his lips. The fire danced, crackled, and blazed, but he remained still, enduring it all not as a victim, but as an instrument of fate. The demons sounded wardrums and conches, proclaiming through every street and square, "Here is Hanuman, a spy sent by Ram. Look, citizens of Lanka, behold the prize of defiance." Children, women, and elders rushed out of their homes, eager to glimpse the captive monkey with his tail aflame. Hanuman's path lit up the city, not with shame, but with ominous warning. The streets echoed with taunts and laughter, but underneath it all, a chill of dread stirred in the hearts of many. Meanwhile, in the Ashok Vatika, Trichta brought the cruel news to Sita, "O noble princess, the Vanar who brought you hope, they're parading him through the streets with his tail on fire." A gasp escaped Sita's lips. A wave of anguish rose within her, the same grief she had felt when Raavan had first seized her. Falling to her knees, she joined her palms and cried out to the fire god, "Agni, O sacred flame, if I have ever been true in heart, devoted to Ram in thought and deed, if my virtue remains untainted, then let Hanuman know no pain. Let the fire on his tail become as cool as the moonlight." Her prayers, carried by the vines of devotion, reached the heavens. The fire god, moved by Sita's chastity and love, transformed his blazing touch. The flames burned bright, but Hanuman felt nothing, not heat, not pain, only a calm breeze. The fire danced around him, but did not harm him. It was no longer punishment. It had become a weapon. Hanuman, feeling the cool kiss of fire, now understood. So this is the power of Devi Sita's grace, of Ram's might, of my mother Anjani's love. The fire burns to serve me, not scorch me. It is time. With a mighty roar, he burst his bonds. His body grew once more, immense as a mountain. The demons shrieked and scattered as he leapt from the procession. He made straight for the arched city gate, his tail still ablaze, a banner of divine fury. Snatching a great iron rod from the gateway's frame, Hanuman swung it with righteous vengeance. The guards fell before him like dry leaves in a storm. One by one, the sentries of Lanka perished, not to a spy, but to the avatar of Ram's wrath. Standing atop the gates, his eyes swept over the golden city. The flames on his tail crackled and hissed, as if hungry for more. Hanuman, now the very embodiment of divine retribution, raised his voice for all of Lanka to hear and said, "This is not the fire of humiliation. It is the fire of Ram's justice. Tell your king, Lanka burns because of his sin. Return Devi Sita, or this flame will consume all." As the flames licked the sky and his tail shimmered like a garland of fire, Hanuman stood still, not in pain, not in defeat, but in thought. The city of Lanka lay beneath him, unaware that its doom now walked its rooftops. I have fulfilled my mission, Hanuman thought, eyes gleaming, the message delivered, the queen consoled, the enemy warned. But one task remains, one final blaze to herald the wrath of Ram. He glanced at his burning tail, now transformed by Agni and Devi Sita's grace into a weapon of justice. Let this fire not end with my shame, but with the shame of Lanka. Let it devour pride, arrogance, and adharm. And so, he leapt, not like a spy retreating in flight, but like a god of destruction dancing from rooftop to rooftop. With every bound, his flaming tail brushed the lintels and eaves of Lanka's mansions, igniting arrogance itself. Prahasta's house fell first, its towers blazing like dry straw in wind. Mahaparshva's palace followed, flames sweeping through its high halls. From there he pounced across the rooftops to the homes of prominent ministers, setting each ablaze with a roar. He left untouched only the house of Vibhishan, the lone voice of wisdom in Raavan's court. Let the fire not harm the just, Hanuman murmured. He soared onward to dozens more palaces and mansions of mighty warriors of Lanka, burning their wealth and ego alike turned to ash. Gold melted, jewels cracked, towers crumbled. Screams filled the air. The fire raced faster, whipped by the very wind that birthed Hanuman. It was not ordinary flame, it was the fire of Dharm, rage, and retribution. Then he arrived at Raavan's own palace, the golden citadel, crowned with domes of crystal and festooned with flags of conquest. You stole Devi Sita. You chained Dharm itself. Hanuman roared. Let your walls speak of this night, O Raavan. With one flick of his tail, he ignited the royal palace. The flame that had flickered in insult now rose in divine wrath, enveloping the heart of Lanka. From the courtyards to the balconies, through scented halls and storied galleries, the fire galloped. The demons, once invincible in pride, ran screaming into the night, "This is no monkey, this is Indra in disguise, or Yam, or the fire from Shiva's third eye. This is Kal, Vishnu's will in simian form." Warriors, still clutching swords, wept as their houses crumbled. Streets once paved with gold now glowed red with embers and the grief of the arrogant. Molten streams of silver and pearl flowed like rivers of lament. And through it all, Hanuman leapt, the fire following him like a chariot drawn by flame. Up above, the gods beheld it all with awe. Indra, Agni, Varun, and even Yam himself gazed down in reverence. The Gandharvas sang, the sages chanted, and the celestial serpents swayed. Hanuman had become more than a messenger. He was now the flame of divine justice. And when the city had burned, when every tower had groaned, and every demon had wept, Hanuman returned to the summit of Mount Trikuta, the inferno dancing behind him. There, with his tail still alight, he stood unscathed, radiant in his glory. The sky lit up as though the sun had risen in the night. His gaze turned north. "Ram, my lord," he whispered, "Lanka has seen your fire. Devi Sita waits with faith in her heart. I return to you now, with news, with hope, and with a vow that this evil will not stand." The fires of Lanka blazed behind him, their embers dancing high into the heavens. Hanuman stood atop a scorched tower of the once mighty city, chest heaving not from exhaustion, but from the heavy burden of thought. The city had burned. But at what cost? His eyes darted across the smoke-strewn horizon. Every home was ash, every palace, dust. His ears no longer heard the arrogant laughter of Rakshasas, or the clang of their prideful armor. Lanka had fallen to flame. "What have I done?" Hanuman whispered. A wave of dread washed over him. In his righteous wrath, in the fury that had surged through his sacred tail, had he also burned down the one soul he was sent to protect? Devi Sita. The name broke from his lips like a prayer, trembling, haunted. He had fought the mighty warriors of Lanka. He had confronted Raavan himself. He had survived fire and chains, insults and mockery. But now, In this still moment, it was his own heart that turned against him. "Shame be upon me," he muttered, clutching his chest, "for in a storm of rage, I may have destroyed the very purpose of my journey." He clenched his fists. What worth is victory if the queen is lost? If the fire that danced triumphantly around his tail had also claimed Sita, then what remained of hope? He imagined Ram's face, the grief that would hollow his eyes. He saw Lakshman, crushed by despair. He thought of Bharat and Shatrughan, of Sugriv and the monkey warriors, and the unthinkable future their sorrow would shape. Have I become the destroyer of not just Lanka, but of Dharm itself? The mighty son of the wind, whose every leap shook mountains, now stood still as stone, struck down not by spear or spell, but by sorrow. But then a breeze stirred, soft, sacred, and with it came omens, signs too powerful to ignore. The flames, which should have devoured all, had not burned his tail. Fire itself had bent to virtue. The wind whispered solace. His wounds did not ache. His breath returned steady. Can fire burn fire? He pondered. Can it harm she whose purity could sanctify it? His faith rekindled slowly, first as a flicker, then a flame. And just then, through the veil of smoke, he heard voices, celestial voices, carried by the wind like a hymn of reassurance. "O mighty Hanuman, Lanka has fallen to your flame, and yet Devi Sita lives. Though towers have tumbled and palaces perished, she remains untouched. The fire has spared her, as fire bows before the fire of her penance." A rush of joy surged through Hanuman. His limbs, which had moments before ached with despair, now pulsed with divine purpose. His heart, burdened by guilt, now beat with resolve. "She lives," he smiled through misted eyes. "Of course she lives. How can fire touch one whose chastity is armor, whose devotion is a shield?" Still, a promise stirred within him. He would not return to Ram without laying eyes on Devi Sita again. Not just to report her safety, but to see her once more, to bow before her, to carry back the sacred certainty of a survival in his own gaze. "I must see her," he resolved. Not as a warrior, not even as a messenger, but as a devotee. For she is not just the reason for this war, she is the soul of this story. Having scorched the skies of Lanka and calmed the fire in his heart, Hanuman, the mighty son of the vine god, turned once more toward the Ashok Vatika, toward Devi Sita, the soul of his mission, the heart of Ayodhya. As he stepped into the grove again, the flames behind him painted a crimson glow across the sky, like the twilight after a celestial battle. The garden was scorched and shaken, but under the same Ashok tree, Devi Sita stood, unharmed, untouched by the fire, radiant in her sorrow and strength. Seeing her, Hanuman's chest swelled with reverence. He folded his hands and bowed deeply. "Thank the heavens," he breathed, "that I see you uninjured, O virtuous princess." Sita's eyes welled with gratitude, but her voice, though tender, carried the quiet force of duty. "O Hanuman, mighty one, you have done the work of gods. With just you here, Lanka trembled. You could have taken me from here, but it is not your task. It is Ram, my lord, who must come. Let him wage war, let him reclaim me in the sight of the world. Let Dharm be restored by his own hands." Hanuman nodded, understanding the purity of her devotion. "Indeed, O revered lady," he said, "Ram, accompanied by Lakshman, Sugriv, and the Vanar and Bear armies, will soon cross the ocean. He shall crush Raavan and all unrighteousness with the power of his bow. He will come, not just to rescue, but to redeem the world." Then, with folded hands and a heart brimming with respect, Hanuman bid Sita farewell. "Keep faith, O princess. The sun of your sorrow is setting. The dawn of your deliverance is near." Turning away, Hanuman's limbs grew taut with resolve. The mission was not just complete, it had been transformed into a sacred vow. As the first rays of dawn broke over Lanka, Hanuman ascended the towering heights of Mount Arishta, a peak so vast and ancient that it brushed the clouds and whispered to the stars. The mountain was cloaked in emerald forests and studded with silver cascades. Wild elephants roamed its slopes, and sacred sages meditated within its caves. Creepers draped its flanks like garlands. The wind hummed with divine anticipation. As Hanuman climbed, each step echoed like thunder. The birds took flight. Tigers shrank back into the thickets. Poisonous serpents hissed and vanished into the undergrowth. The mountain shuddered, not out of fear, but in reverence, for it knew a divine leap was about to be made. Before leaping across the ocean, Hanuman turned back one last time. With a gentle whirl of his mighty tail, he dipped the blazing tip into the vast blue waters below. The ocean, ever grateful to serve any cause of Ram, received the flame with reverence, hissing softly, as if in prayer. The fire died down, and in its place, a quiet mist rose, a blessing from the sea to the Vanar, who had scorched a city in service of Dharm. When Hanuman reached the summit, he stood tall against the sky, his tail still faintly aglow, his muscles taut like a coiled spring. He pressed his palms to his chest and whispered one final prayer, "May the wind carry me. May Ram's name guide me. May my mother's love protect me. May my leap deliver hope." With a roar that shook the heavens and a heartbeat that echoed like a drum of war, Hanuman grew until he towered like a second mountain. His chest expanded like a monsoon cloud. His arms stretched like the branches of banyan trees. And then he leapt. The mighty Mount Arishta groaned beneath him, its peaks splintering, its trees torn from the roots. Great sages and celestial beings rose into the sky in awe. The ocean, sleeping in silver silence below, stirred as a dark shadow raised above its surface. Hanuman soared, like Garuda, like time itself. Behind him, Lanka lay in smoke and fear. Ahead of him, Ram awaited the tidings that would unleash destiny.
Even in triumph, Hanuman carries no arrogance, only urgency. For in the heart of a servant as pure as his, every victory is but a step toward the greater purpose, reuniting Ram and Sita, restoring righteousness to the world. As Hanuman tears through the skies, the oceans churn beneath him, the vines follow his path, and the heavens themselves lean closer. Behind him, Lanka smolders. Ahead of him, destiny waits. But the questions remain: how will Ram respond to the tale of Lanka in flames? Will the Vanar Sena be enough to face the might of Ravan's legions? And can love, when guided by Dharm, pierce through the darkness that pride has built? Join us in the next episode of the Ramayan, Stories of Dharm and Devotion, where alliances are forged, oceans are dared, and an army of faith marches toward a battle that will echo through eternity. Share this tale with those you cherish, and let its enduring wisdom awaken strength in your soul. Though the details of the Ramayan differ in every telling, its heartbeat remains unchanged, a beacon for all who choose courage over fear. Until we meet again, may the light of Dharm guide your path, and may your spirit stand tall.